The Alice Stewart Show is on the air and on your radio right now. Here's more from Alice on 96.5, The Voice.
Thank God I was an American child.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:45 on a beautiful Wednesday morning here in Central Arkansas. Joining me in studio, Col Conrad Reynolds, Republican candidate for 2nd Congressional District. Colonel, great to have you here.
Alice, thanks for having me.
And you will be participating in the big debate this Saturday. It's the Arkansas Federation of Young Republicans debate here in Little Rock. We'll be broadcasting it live here on 96.5. Right. And you will be facing off against your opponents, businessman French Hill and Republican Ann Clemmer. How are you feeling going into the debate?
I feel good. You know, they're both nice people, but I think that there are clear distinctions between us. And I think that will become very clear as the debate goes.
And your focus with your message that you get out often and when you speak to groups and visit with people, leadership and trust.
Leadership and trust is the key thing. Strength, leadership, and trust, actually, because right now in D.C., we have too many people, as far as I'm concerned, who go up there who have no leadership skills whatsoever. And, tell me one person in D.C. that you actually trust. I don't know many. And my entire career has been built on that. That's the foundation of who I am as a person.
And clearly also with the veterans groups, explain to folks, remind folks of your military service and commitment to veterans issues.
Thank you. Well, I spent 3 decades, most of my life, serving this country in the military. I retired as a colonel. And I was an Army intelligence officer and went all over the country. It was all over the world. It was a great experience. And I used that when I came back, and I started the Arkansas Military Veterans Hall of Fame here in Arkansas because we didn't have a Hall of Fame. So I'm very committed to military issues, and particularly since the 2nd District has the Air Force Base here.
Right.
It's a huge thing. We need somebody in Congress that will certainly protect that. And usually it's someone who's walked in those shoes, and that's me.
Well, and that's what we see a lot in D.C. right now. So many of those that are serving in D.C. right now have never served in our military. We're blessed in Arkansas. All of our Republican delegation in Congress, in the House, are all veterans. They've all served. They understand the value and the importance of it. We don't have a lot of that in D.C. So someone with that type of background and commitment, in my view, given that I think our national security is very important, it's important to have someone with that background and commitment.
Well, I thank you for saying that, and that's the reason I'm running, because I want to make sure that we keep it that way, that our delegation has military experience. In fact, there's a 6-to-1 odds in the 2nd District, 6-to-1, that if I'm not the Republican candidate, Pat Hayes will be the person who probably will win, and the reason for that is he's a veteran. Right. And veterans in this district vote for veterans, particularly in the general election. They're nonpartisan. And that is critical. I'll just mention, every congressman since Wilbur Mills was a veteran. And so it's 6-to-1 odds that if someone else gets the nomination other than me, that Pat Hayes would be the congressman for the 2nd District. And we cannot allow that to occur. Right.
And clearly that's a key priority for you and a lot of groups you speak with, veterans. Right. But also when you travel this district and you're visiting with people, I would imagine Obamacare you get asked about that a lot. What are people asking you about that?
Well, it goes both ways, but most people say, we don't want it, we want to get rid of it, we don't want the government involved. I think it's going to become, most people are really concerned when the employer mandate kicks in, how that's going to impact them and which employers are going to drop their insurance. Right. They see the commercials of different people who have had their insurance dropped, and they're very, very concerned about that. And so Obamacare, I think jobs, the economy, that's what's on people's mind. Right. But more importantly, they just want somebody who will tell them the truth and not say one thing here in Arkansas and go up and vote another way. Right. And that's what they've seen over and over again. They want to get away from that. So do I.
And you talk about when the employer mandate kicks in, it brings me to the question of so much of Obamacare, as we were told repeatedly by Democrats and the administration, it's the law of the land. Supreme Court has upheld it. It's the law of the land. Shut your mouth and take it. Right. But so much of it has been changed. The president himself has unilaterally bypassed Congress and delayed employer mandate, the individual mandate, and key components of this that Republicans fought from day one. if you were to be elected as a member of Congress there in the House, what would you do, or how would you feel knowing that whatever you decide, the president would unilaterally just bypass you and do whatever he wanted?
Well, I think that there's the key reason we've got to get Tom Cotton elected. I mean, if there's one reason, that's it. We've got to take over the Senate, and we've got to maintain our lead in the House. And when I go up there, I will be working with other Republicans to ensure this president doesn't continue to kill our country. He's destroying our country, and he's not a king. And I wish people in Congress would stand up and tell him that. I don't see enough of that right now.
Right.
But I will. So I'm not. You know me very well.
Right.
I'm not the kind of person that sits back and keeps my mouth shut. If I believe something is wrong, I'll say it.
And that's the key. Is as you mentioned, electing Tom Cotton to the Senate increases the chance and the likelihood that Republicans would gain the 6 seats in the Senate, which would mean the Senate would be in the hands of Republicans, which would go a long way to making sure that the conservative values of Arkansas are reflected in Washington, D.C.
Right.
I want to ask you about the recent fundraising numbers have come out, and quite a disparity, specifically in your race. We have you've raised $26,000 in the first 3 months of this campaign, and you have right now you're showing cash on hand of $66,000. Representative Ann Clemmer, who is a Republican from Benton, she's serving in the state rep.
Right.
We haven't seen her reports for this quarter, but she has $100,000 cash on hand. French Hill. Businessman French Hill is raised quite a bit of money and has around $700,000 cash on hand.
Right.
How do you compete with that kind of money?
Well, first off, it's French Hill is a banker, and there's no it shouldn't be lost on anybody that a rich banker will have rich friends who will give him a lot of money. So I knew that coming into this race. I've got enough money to beat French Hill. I got enough money to beat Ann Clemmer. I've got enough. My GLTV is already paid for. As you well know, the primary is a much different race than the general. In the primary, it is a street fight. It is getting every voter to go vote because it's such a low voter turnout. The general, you got to have a lot of money, no question about that.
Right.
Because you have to have a message that goes over TV or radio all over. But you don't have to have that for the primary. What you got to have is that face-to-face connection. You've got to work the doors. You got to go talk to people, and that's what I've been doing. And, I've been doing that since I started the race, actually, which was in the latter part of January. And I believe that without question, I will win this primary.
And that's a key, as you had mentioned, getting out there, gripping and grinning, burning some shoe leather. And in terms of the money, French Hill raising $300,000 this quarter with that kind of money. We're seeing a lot of his ads on TV. You have an ad out. What's your strategy moving forward? Do you continue to put more ads on TV, getting the message out, or do you plan to do a serious hard ground game in meeting folks?
Well, it's got to be the hard ground game. I would never compete financially. Most of my voters, people who support me and people who know me, they're veterans. They live paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a lot of money, but they're Main Street. They're not Wall Street. And that's the kind of people that I go talk to, all of them, and I tell them, look, I need you to go vote. I am very confident that these folks will go vote, and I think that I will win without question. And then after that, we all come together as Republicans, and we're going to beat Pat Hayes. And I'm looking forward to that challenge. And
that's the key right here, setting the stage for that. Okay, we have the debate coming up Saturday, the Arkansas Federation of Young Republicans, and the purpose of a debate is to debate your challengers, and you will be going many questions. I'm on the panel. We'll be asking questions, and
you want to tell me one now? No, I'm just.
I'll sell the questions for one price and the answers for another price. We'll discuss that after. No, but you'll be going obviously against French Hill and Ann Clemmer. How are you going to distinguish? We'll look at French Hill right now. How would you distinguish yourself from him and his record as a businessman and a banker, and your record in the military?
Right. Well, here's the main thing: the difference between me and my opponents is I don't say one thing and do another. If you look at their backgrounds and look at my background, we are completely different. If I tell you something, you can take that to the bank. I mean, if Mr. Hill tells you something, that's not true. He says he's against taxes. It's clear he's for taxes. He raised it was a $500 million tax increase over 10 years on the people of Little Rock, just 2 years ago. So you can't say one thing and do another. You can't say I'm a loyal Republican, but give money, max out to Martha Schaffner. I mean, come on. So I don't do that.
And what about Representative Clemmer?
I like Ann a lot. Believe me, I like Ann a lot. But Ann said she would never, ever, ever vote for the private option or fund it. But she did vote to fund it. So again, you got to have people who go to D.C. who have a spine of steel, because there's going to be a lot of pressure.
All right. Colonel, I want to ask you one more thing. Got less than a minute left. Your blue tie. You are a supporter of autism.
I am. This is Autism Awareness Month. I have a son. He's 4.5. He has autism. That's another thing. If the people, anybody out there who has or has been touched by autism, I will be their biggest voice in Washington, D.C.
All right. And certainly keep you and your son in our prayers.
Well, thank you.
All right. Colonel, thank you. We'll look forward to
Enjoyed
seeing
it.
you on Saturday. And for folks that want more information, your website
is voteconrad.com.
All right. We appreciate you, Colonel. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
That wraps it up for this edition of the Alice Stewart Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you stick around. Glenn Beck is on deck. We'll talk tomorrow. Have a great day.
Why can't every day be just this good?
The Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.